there's so many different ways that we can actually reduce our tax bill here. But before we even get to that tax bill, we have to understand how is it we're currently investing, and is that actually the lowest risk type of investment we could take for ourselves.
What's the biggest secret, or the number one secret to making passive commercial real estate simple?
Well, the first step is actually knowing what your goals are. What is it you're trying to achieve? And oftentimes, I've been on the phone with thousands of investors, and they're primarily chasing yield. They want to get out of the stock market. They have a pain. They want to transition into some sort of alternative strategy. Or maybe they do already believe in real estate, but they haven't really quite nailed down what exactly they need. What are their goals? And sometimes it's actually what they don't realize what they need with their investing goals that trips them up. For example, this is a conversation I have all the time. An investor comes in, they're like, I want out of the stock market. It's too volatile for me. And I'm like, great. Do you need cash flow? Do you need gains? Do you need some sort of balanced blend of both with your real estate asset? And they'll be like, oh, I don't need the cash flow right now. Just sign me up for the gains. They're already thinking kind of like a retirement plan. I'm going to use this 30, 40 years down the line. And I'm like, okay, what happens if you lose your job tomorrow? What are you going to do? Maybe you have to downsize, or maybe you grow your family and you actually realize you want to take a step back. I always encourage people to, again, look at their goals. What is it they want? Why do they want it? But also make sure that somewhere in that investment plan there is cash flow, because it indicates that there's actually that asset you're investing in has stabilized now and is performing in the current environment.
Got it. So make sure I get that. So clarifying your goals and your vision for your investing, or what you're trying to do, what you're trying to accomplish, and right next to that, or side by side, is actually clarifying your cash flow needs and taking into consideration worst case scenarios. Hey, I might lose my job. Things might get, someone might want to stay home full time to be a mom or your dad or whatever, to travel more. Clarifying what is your actual cash flow needs. Is that a fair summary for secret number one?
Yes, definitely. And then when we start diving, we can kind of roll right into secret number two, which is, understanding what your actual risk tolerance is. So many people, in today's market, I mean, I just did a talk a couple of weeks ago, and when I was about multi-generational wealth, you and I spoke about it at IIRC as well. A lot of people were trained to pay taxes. We're trained to go out and get a good education, get a good high-paying job, buy the house, take the standard deduction, and oh yeah, by the way, contribute to your 401k. There's so many different ways that we can actually reduce our tax bill here. But before we even get to that tax bill, we have to understand how is it we're currently investing, and is that actually the lowest risk type of investment we could take for ourselves. Now, if you're investing in stocks, bonds, and mutual funds, great. But when we move over to real estate investing, we can't take the same mentality with us. We have to actually understand what are the type of assets that are available to us. A lot of people come out of stocks, bond, and mutual fund investing and are chasing yield. Give me the highest returns. I'll take the cash flow later. Well, potentially that is one of the higher risk investments you could possibly make in the real estate sector. So I really try to help people understand, are you looking for Class A suburban housing, low deferred maintenance, low capital expenditures on the project, but you get a nice high quality tenant, and you can kind of, what we call clip a coupon and, take that cash flow now, get nice equity bumps later? Or are you looking for more of a, on the opposite side of the spectrum, a development deal where it's ground up and you have a lot of potential risk with what we call entitlement, getting all the permitting to be able to convert the land into the highest best use. And then also building the actual project. We've got supply, risks that are coming into the business plan. We have labor risks that are coming into the business plan. And then if you're going into a residential project, hey, just tenanting the project. How do you get it all tenanted? So there's a place for all of those projects potentially in someone's portfolio, but what I really try to encourage them to look at, based on what your goals are and what your needs, let's make sure that your risk tolerance is matching with those before we start taking a look at operators.
Perfect. Okay, so number one is clarify your goals and cash flow needs. Number two is what is your risk tolerance and how do you properly diversify perhaps based upon that risk tolerance, right? Understanding the different options and perhaps not over concentrating into a single asset type or a single product type or a single location, and really clarifying that. And then what's step number three or secret number three?
Well, vetting the operator, right? The operator is the business plan. Okay. I talked to a lot of investors. I actually just got off the phone with one right before we hit record on the podcast. She has 32 properties. Fantastic. And she's like, okay, tell me what your returns are on your commercial deals. And I'm like, whoa, hold on. Like, let's date a little bit. Let's get to know each other. And that's exactly what investors should be doing is, it's a different type of mentality. We're in the market. You're chasing yield here, in a private equity investing. You can also chase yield on the deal, but you want to know who the jockey is riding the horse, not betting on the horse. And so really secret number three is learning how to vet an operator that, intently. Okay, case in point. You identified your goals, you identified your risk tolerance. Now you start going online or going to real estate conference or networking with other investors to get a Rolodex of operators to interview. You got to hop on the phone with them and actually get to know them, right? You have to, understand, build that level of trust, and it goes both directions. Who are they? Like, have they been in real estate for a long time? What is their track record? Have they had any exits? How have the exits performed on the properties? Who is on their team? Okay, if they're a solo operator, for me, that's a red flag. I want somebody taking care of my money like it's my money. Okay, so I want them watching over it full time. Okay, then we can dive into like, what is their actual philosophy? Or, again, we call it business alignment, is what their investment strategy is and the type of asset they're going after actually aligned with what your risk tolerance is and your investing goals. Okay.
Fantastic. That's great.